Hello, and welcome back to another episode of Tarot Tuesday. So excited to have you here. And if you've never joined us before, and if you feel scared by woo-woo at all, don't worry. I feel like I approach tarot as more of like a creative journaling prompt kind of situation where it's just a different way to look at things happening in your life and think about them and think about just a different perspective. So if you haven't joined us before, the deck that I use is called the Lightseers Tarot deck, and I just think it's really pretty, so that's why I use it. All right, so we are going to go ahead and pull a card for today. What? We just had this card. It makes me so tempted to do a different one, but we'll go ahead and do it again and see if something else comes up. Maybe it's meant for, maybe we need it again, or maybe gives us a different perspective, or maybe it's somebody else listening in that didn't hear it last time. So here we have Four of Swords. The Four of Swords has this big, huge nest made out of twigs, and there's this woman who's curled up inside. She has some blue jeans on, or blue pants with a floral design. She's barefoot. She has a red tank top on, and she has her eyes closed, so it looks like she's peacefully resting. She has some tattoos on her arms. And then she has the Four Swords kind of just like scattered around the nest with her. And attached to those Four Swords is this red string. And then at the end of one end of the red string, there is this heart that is it's kind of like it's been patched up, like it had been torn and it's been mended. Yeah, so the first thing that comes to me is just this idea of like, even if you're like ready to fight, and I think like fighting in a good sense, like for a good cause, like based on your morals and protecting humanity and looking out for your neighbor, that kind of thing, that I feel like so many of us are thinking a lot about right now. Even though like we want to be in the middle of that, like there also needs to be restoration. There needs to be rest, and we need to be able to like lay there with the swords, like and it doesn't look like she's like, tense and on edge and waiting for somebody to attack, but it's taking, like, she's being cautious, she's being maybe smart, but she is resting in this space. And yeah, it's interesting that the heart is on the opposite side of the nest from her. So it's like she's not necessarily worried that heart's going to be stolen from her. Just allowing it to exist there, which I think is kind of a beautiful picture of just like allowing it to exist without like having to like protect it with your whole being, or being scared or fearful about what's going to happen to it. But just trusting that nest, trusting that support system, I guess. Whatever that looks like for you. I know that we all have different maybe feelings about our support system, and sometimes maybe it feels more supportive than others. But yeah, all right, I'll go ahead and pull up the book here. Four of Wands. No, that's not what I want. Four of Swords, not Four of Wands. It's a very different card. It started with celebration and prosperity. Four of Swords. Okay, a time of deep rest transmutation of shadow, healing from burnout, taking a brief holiday from your reality, renewal, and self-love. I'm trying to remember, was this like literally our last episode, or was it 2 episodes ago? I can't remember, but I think it might have been 2 episodes ago. It'd be really wild if this was just last episode. Okay, so this deep resting period in your life marks a moment of intentional healing and self-care. More than just integral to your wellness, it is integral to your being at this time. Body, mind, and spirit. How you heal is your choice, and you can find quiet regeneration through sleep or other restorative practices like meditation, journaling, energy healing, etc. Consciously decide to slow down and process before sprinting ahead. The hustle can be tumultuous and demanding, and the only person who can really direct your own radical recovery is you. Tend to your wounds as you may be on the verge of burnout. Your nest will grow around you as you sleep, and the landscape of your life will shift beautifully as you fall into your own rejuvenating energy. In your dream state, you will transmute and transform your experiences and emerge renewed, whole, and ready to rise. But first, you must rest. Sweet dreams, sweet chickadee. And then the affirmation with it is, I give myself permission to slow down and heal. Yeah, this is really interesting because I feel like this card we had right before the change to spring. I'm losing the word for that, but the equinox. And so like I was talking a lot about like, you know, this resting before we have this, you know, rejuvenating whatever as spring is here, and now here spring is here, and we have this card again. And I think that's kind of maybe a powerful message even in just how so many of us are feeling in general right now, and this reminder of like, okay, we need to continue to take care of ourselves, we need to continue to rest. We can't just like give and give and give and wear ourselves so thin that then everything's worse off for ourselves, for everybody else, all of it. I also found this really interesting because I feel like it ties in well with, I just recorded 2 of the 2-minute motivation episodes, and so one was about you know, slowing down and finding things to be thankful for, and I feel like that tied in really well with this restorative practices like meditation, journaling, etc., and consciously deciding to slow down and process. And I feel like thankfulness, like that sort of practice, falls into this where it's you know, it's intentionally taking time to slow down and think about, what are the things that I'm really thankful for? What are the things that really fill my cup? What are the things that like really deeply I'm appreciative of? And so that kind of practice, but then also just other practices to slow down and to reflect. If you're anything like me, it's really easy to keep pushing forward, to get so excited about the ideas and all of the things moving forward that you don't necessarily take the time to reflect and think about, okay, what is the best way moving forward? What have I learned from the past, and what do I need to change moving forward? Which is really applicable for those of us who are business owners here. We are at the end of Q1, moving into Q2, which is a great time to be reflecting on those things. And you know, there is some of it that I think we do naturally, like if we're creating a new schedule. Like this last weekend, I was trying to create a new schedule, a new rhythm for myself and my little one, and thinking about, okay, what's working, what's draining my energy, what is giving me energy, how do I need to shift these so that I feel more fulfilled in the day-to-day living, and less burnt out. And so yeah, that kind of thing. And I really like that it says specifically, consciously decide to slow down. Like, if we don't consciously decide to slow down, often we don't slow down unless it's something like illness that forces us to slow down. But then as moms, it still isn't really a slowdown because we're taking care of ourselves, we're taking care of our kids. It's not like you're just like sitting and doing nothing. So yeah, you can't consciously have to slow down. You have to make that decision to slow down. I think that's really powerful and really important. And I think for so many of us, it's so easy to be like, okay, I'll do this, this, and this, and then I will slow down, and then I will take a break, and then I will reflect, and then I'll figure this out. Yeah. So yeah, it's just a lot more rest, self-love, allowing yourself to like have that cup filled back up, allowing that energy to refuel before you keep pushing on those things moving forward. And I think this is really interesting because for myself, and I know many other people as well, I don't know if this is true for you or not, but so this time of like spring, it's like it's easy to like, okay, you have all these ideas, all these things you want to do, and like all this energy, and it's easy to like overschedule yourself moving forward. So it's like, okay, so I want to do a garden, I want to do all these activities with my little one, I want to, and then like you plan out all these things, I want to do all these things in my business. Yeah, that's something that I'm working on right now. Like, okay, how do I make this realistic? Because I have all these ideas for April for my businesses, and I only have nap time to do podcasts, to do emails, to write my newsletters, to do any creative creation, all that kind of stuff. So anyway, yeah. So like having these pauses is so helpful in allowing us to actually fulfill these things in the long term, because it's really easy to be like, okay, I'm so excited, I'm gonna do all these things, you push, and then you burn yourself out, and then you're like, you know, a month in, 2 months in, and you have no energy to finish the third month or the fourth month or whatever, however far forward you've projected all of this energy. And so I think that's a really important point for, you know, living sustainably, energetically sustainable, is to take these breaks, to take these pauses, and to allow yourself to, okay, I need to fill my cup. What cup is it that's feeling empty right now? Because sometimes it's maybe like a social cup, sometimes maybe it's just like a creative processing kind of cup. Maybe it's very much just like energy in terms of like rest and stuff like that. So being mindful of like, okay, what is it that I actually need right now to feel rejuvenated? Because if what you really need is a bunch of sleep, but instead you're diving into a bunch of creative projects, that's not the right kind of renewal. And you know, on the flip side, if like what you're really needing is creative, like get that creativity rejuvenated, you need to just have some creative time to play with things and have new ideas and create with your hands and whatever it is, and instead you spend your time in bed, that's also, it's not going to fill the cup, because it's the wrong cup that you're feeling. So yeah, that's super important. Yeah, so give yourself that permission to slow down, to heal, to give yourself that self-love, to renew that energy, so that you can keep pushing forward. Doesn't mean that you're not going to keep pushing forward. That doesn't mean that you're giving up on, you know, this fight or whatever, this cause, but it means that you are taking the time to refuel, to refill, so that you can keep pushing forward in a way that's sustainable for you, for your family, and for the people around you that are benefiting from your work with this cause. Okay, so if this resonated with you, you can go ahead and continue this journaling in a journal, in your notes app. You can do voice to text, whatever resonates with you. But I hope that there was something in this that you feel like you can bring forward with, you know, the week forward and coming, and resonate with you. All right, I'll catch you on the next one.